we are now facing a real new wave of terror in Israel.
Right.
Almost 9 attacks. We have casualties. We have people who have been killed by the terrorists. And as a matter of fact, just like you just mentioned, Eli, there is a change in what we call the rules of engagement. It's not only to open fire or not to open fire. It's the whole policy how to deal with security matters when we are facing terrorists or assistant to terrorists or people around that who can just endanger the forces. Right. So the rules will change because the situation is changing. It is not an initiative from the Israeli side. It is a reaction from Israel facing the new situation from the Palestinian side.
Right, so this policy might be new, but as you've alluded to, Mr. Rafowicz, the practice is not. Perhaps most infamous case is the case of Elor Azaria that reached a very high-profile trial, but also most recently, during this recent terror wave we're experiencing, 2 border police officers neutralizing a terrorist on the ground, and just short hours afterwards taken to questioning by the internal investigation committee, agency rather, of police. The fear here, if I may be clear, is that soldiers will not feel safe to act on the ground, risking legal action against them.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, there is a gray area in this matter, because like it happened in Jerusalem, or it happened a few years ago with Elor Azaria, the terrorist was on the floor. He was not dead, he was still moving, and there are some possibilities that he has still a knife with him, or a gun, or a bomb on him. So altogether, I mean, the reaction from the soldiers could be understood. But the law and the legal matters are very precise, very accurate. You don't open fire when the terrorist is on the floor, actually, that he cannot move, he cannot do anything. But, you know, between he cannot move but can move without endangering the forces, it's not very clear, and there is a very short time of reaction from the soldiers. So, like you just said now, Eli, it is a big problem for the soldiers because they're afraid of doing what they should do as soldiers, but being sent to court because they're not, I would say, in theory, behaving according to the law, but practically, they are most of the time saving their own lives, and they're saving the lives of their soldiers around them. So it's a very complicated issue, and I'm quite happy personally that the rules will change, not totally without any law, but will be adapted to a new serious situation.
And essentially this new policy offers some legal backing to an extent for what soldiers have been claiming was a paralyzed policy. But let's move to the criticism, which you probably understand, and what is very natural to assume is that it will trigger international dismay at the very least at some point. What's the Israeli claim here vis-a-vis the international community on those issues?
The claim is simple and not so simple. It is simple when we say, like everybody else in the world, that we are facing terror activities and we have to protect ourselves against terrorism, like in France, or in America, in England, wherever.
Right.
But the problem is that the area itself is considered by the world as an occupied territory. By an army who is occupying this territory. So all the rules, all the laws are actually not really fitting the situation from the Israeli side. So we are all the time facing criticism, facing possibility to be blamed by international institutions. And like you just said, it will be the case, because what we're doing for ourselves won't be accepted at all, not by the UN, not by the International Court of Justice in Hague. And we are facing a new problem for the future. We are defending our people, but we are facing a justice or a legal issue for the future.
Right, and before we let you go, Mr. Rafowicz, another changing element on the ground is the issue of social media, or more accurately, documentation of the events on the ground in real time, usually being uploaded again and getting viral from social media. So do you think that this perhaps was also an issue that exacerbated this change of policy?
I don't think so, but what is clear that now what you are doing something on the ground as a soldier, as an officer, you have to take into account that it is filmed and it will be broadcast and sent to everywhere in the world. So you have to be aware of that. It is a new situation, a new world.
Right.
But what is not new here is a terrorism, and people want to kill you. That's not new.